Second one is another one that was shown to me and recommended to me, and I was made to. I loved it and I love it because of my dad. Um, that's Speed Racer.
Here comes Speed Racer. He's a demon on wheels.
I watched.
Speed
I watched a
Racer.
few episodes of the show, quite a number of episodes of the show, and then I watched the movie.
You walk away from this deal, no matter how well you drive, you won't win, you won't place. I guarantee you right now, you won't even finish the race.
And the movie is kind of incredible because, in one breath, it is astonishing how faithful it is to the anime at times. Like, it's incredible. Like, I when I went after I watched the movie, I watched another episode of the show, and there was stuff in the movie that seemed really stupid, but having watched an episode of the show and actually paid attention, I was like, oh, okay, they're kind of doing a thing from the show that's interesting. So like, yeah, in one breath, Pop's Racer man, John Goodman looks just like Pop's Racer. Like, damn.
Someone who disobeys? Someone who lies to me? Is this the kind of son I've raised?
I've worked on it for a year. I hope you will give the go-ahead to actually build the engine according to this plan.
Damn, does John Goodman look like Pop's Racer? But then the CGI on the car races is like, it's just like visual. Everything is happening at once. Everything. Like, you can't see anything. It's just like bad video game CGI, but like really particularly bad like CGI. Even for the time, it's like it's hard to tell anything that's happening at any one time, and it's awful. But then like the show does this thing where when people are racing, where it does this hard flash to like this up.
Local fan favorite.
Like from here up of the driver to just sort of indicate that they're driving a car.
Right.
And the movie does that a lot. Like, and it's just them up against a green screen, and it's like Speed Racer like driving, but it's like just a really bad like head shot. And I'm like, oh, that looks just like the show. That's incredible. Like the attention to detail. And the plot of the movie, I could see how if you're not familiar again with the show, you'd be like, yeah, this is really boring and derivative. But it's a really faithful adaptation of the show in the sense that, yeah, the show is just kind of every episode is like, there's a bad guy, there's an evil corporate bad guy, and they want Speed Racer to lose the race for some reason or another. That so like in like the early episodes I watched, it was like there's a secret engine that's on the windshield of the super secret car.
I remember that one.
And then after I watched the movie, I watched the one where it was the fastest car, and you have to take drugs in order to drive the fastest car.
I also remember that one. Do you remember? I think there was a PlayStation 1 Speed Racer game that we I don't remember if we rented or whatever one time. But I remember that you could be the Mach 5, and it had the different buttons, and you could do the saw blades, and you could do the power jack jump, and I remember that one.
Shit, where was I going with this? Yeah, the driving is just like noise, like it's hard to follow. And this movie is so many layers of incredible because it's like it's written and directed by the people who made The Matrix. And you're like, written. They wrote this, and they definitely watched Speed Racer. Like I could say that. I could say that they definitely watched at least like maybe not a lot of episodes of Speed Racer, but enough to get it. Like it's really bizarre. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. The movie is really just a really really good adaptation of an episode of the show where it's like it's just Speed Racer runs into a bad guy who's part of an evil group of bad guys who are fixing races, and Speed Racer has to win a race and beat them. Oh, and a thug shows up in the middle of the thing, and Speed Racer does a fist fight. Like there's a scene in this that if you're not familiar with the show, you're like, this is ridiculous. But like having just gotten off the back of watching like 4 episodes, I'm like, a ninja attacking him in the middle of the night is not a really ridiculous thing for Speed Racer.
You attack my family. You try to hurt my sons.
It's a thing that would happen in this universe. But like,
plus there's his long lost dead brother who is Racer X.
Who's Racer X? Yeah. Who in this movie gets plastic surgery? I think I can't remember if in the show if that's the same thing they do from the show.
I don't remember.
But like like the aesthetic is weird. Like they do this like retro futuristic, like it's in the future, but it's also the 1950s for some reason. Like all the aesthetic and everyone dresses like it's the 1950s. It's really weird. Like the original Speed Racer, it was like they were driving cars. Like they were driving regular cars. Like this is like they're doing races around what is ostensibly Lego tracks. And like all the cars look like you remember? All the cars look like they're Lego cars. So the Mach 5 doesn't really stand out. It just kind of blends in. And
yeah, that was kind of the point of the Mach 5 was that everyone had regular cars, but his had all these gadgets in it and cool things that were added in.
Exactly.
And that made his car special.
And they do eventually put that stuff, but like every car has the jacks, the jumping jacks, and like they eventually add the stuff in, but it's like as a result of like being self-defense items against the other cars who are putting in like bad things into their cars. But it's like, but that's not what made the Mach 5 special. Like, yeah, when you watch the show, it's very much like, yeah, they're just saying regular car shit. Like this show takes place in like modern times in the 60s. Like it takes place in like the regular universe, and they're just saying regular car driving jargon. Like they're regular people. They're not super people in like this weird future super races. And you're like, yeah. And then you read about this and you read how the Wachowskis wanted to make this weird avant-garde, like art house film. But then it's like, but that's Pop's Racer. Like that's Racer X. That looks like his car. Like it's bizarre. The ending credits has this weirdly like accurate. It's got the Japanese theme song, the Speed Racer theme song, and lines from the original show in it. Like, who is that for other than, like, hardcore fans? Which, like, yeah, it's such a contradictory movie. It's so bizarre. Like, I could see why people are like, this is bad, but if, like you're, like, really familiar with the show, it's kind of great. It truly is. It's really weird. It's a weird one. It is such a weird one. Yeah, it's so funny that I watched the Fastest Car. That episode used to scare the bejesus out of me when I was 6 years old. Like I don't know why. It was so scary. Like the bit when Chim Chim is being forced to drive and he's I don't know what it was. That used to upset me.
To be fair, you were scared of the weirdest things with movies,
man,
Mr. Green Goblin.
Mr. Green Goblin. Yeah, man. Yeah, weird. I remember that being like this episode was intense as a kid, and now I'm like this show's silly. It's silly and fun. It's from the 1960s, and the voice acting is weird. It's so weird.
It's campy.
It's so campy and fun, and I love this show. And it's right from my childhood. It's so funny how you don't like that thing was old when we were young, and it's just funny how you don't realize you don't care when you're a kid. It's
like
a cartoon.
Transformers.
Not Transformers. I would argue it was not old. It was like getting no. I don't even think it was getting old. Like it was not contemporary, but it was just out of the sphere of being contemporary. This is like 1990s to the 1960s. This is like a 30-year-old show. And it's like, yeah, you just don't care. It's cartoons. Who cares?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of drama to it. It's just kind of funny to me because like this is the era of like really nailing syndication. So it's just funny that every one of these is a 3-parter. Like every one of them is a 3-parter.
That's funny.
None of them really feel like they need to be. It's very funny, and a lot of times the middle part has nothing to do with the end part. It's very strange.
I mean, that's like
wait,
that's
we're
like
still doing the car one. Okay, yeah, okay.
That's like Tintin, The Adventures of Tintin would do that.
Yeah, I guess it just must have been a thing from that era, like cartoons from the 60s, where like we really need to like stretch it out. Yeah.
And now we can barely get 8 episodes of a series.
Right. I guess maybe just that was really I guess before they nailed syndication, because I guess the 80s like Dungeons and Dragons, like you literally could put any episode of that show on and you wouldn't know which season it was from.
Yeah.
Because that was the point, that they were created to just you put it on